Okay, welcome back to another episode of The Man, the Father, the Legend. I am your host, David Ford, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Othneil Chambers Sr. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Much, man. Just living a dream.
Yeah, man. Well, so for all of our listeners, man, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and your extensive resume?
All right. So I am a father. All right, let's start with the father thing. I'm a father of two young boys, one, 2, one's 15. And I'm married. I've been married for about 3 years, going on 4. Happily to my wife Genevieve. Uh, let's see what else. I am a musician, currently a Philadelphia firefighter, um, just an all-around artist, I believe. I love just the arts in general. Um, Christian, man of God. Um, from Darby, Pennsylvania. I actually was born in West Philadelphia, but I moved to Darby when I was young, and grew up there with my mom and my dad at first. Then my mom and dad split up. So dad moved back to our house in West Philly. So I kind of grew up in between both places. So I spent most of my time just kind of going back and forth, but I went through school in the William Penn School District. So all of my friends are mostly from like Delco area. Moved out into South Philly when I was 18. Had a job with the Marcus Hook Sunoco refinery. There for about years, got laid off, went back to making music, went back to producing, did that whole thing for a decent like 5 to 6 years. Moved to California after that for about a year. Made music out there, was living a dream out there, kind of just doing it from the mud, getting it from the mud, just going out and singing on the beach and gaining fans like that, going out to bars at night, just living a dream, like living like rock stars out there.
Yeah.
Until the Lord told me back. And then I was like, all right, something, just sparked and was like, yeah, it's time to come back, man. So I came back. My dad used to pay me to play at his church. And then through that experience, through playing at the church, I just ended up Lord just broke me down. I gave my heart back to Christ. And ever since then, I just been on a mission to get closer to God. Ended up getting married about a year and a half after that. Ended up having a son, meeting my oldest son, which is my stepson that my wife had when I met her. He was about 11 at the time. And here we are. Now we're here. They're 2. He's 2. My youngest son is 2. My son is 15. I went through the fire academy about a year ago. 2 years ago, actually. Came out the fire academy January. Now I'm about to have 1 year on the job, and life is great, man.
Yeah, man. That's a lot to unpack. Well, first, congratulations on the kids and the life. And man, I met him. Now I'm going to put this out there. I met Othneil through music, and when I tell you, he has an incredible voice, and he's one of the most gifted singers and guitarists I've heard in a long time. Definitely top 10, top 5 in this area, in this Delco Philly area. So I have to give you the praises, man. I have to give you your flowers while you can smell them, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Now you talked about you being married to your wife for 3 years, about 3 years. So what was that like? How did you know that she was the one? What was it like meeting her? And how did you know? Ooh, yeah, I need to get married to her.
This is one of my favorite stories to tell, man. Because to be honest with you, it was nothing but God. Nothing. I was living in a shed. I was working at Salvation Army, and I was living in a shed in the yard of one of my friends, he's my brother-in-law. So I was living, in his shed. It was bare bones when I first got it. As time went on, I used to just build it. I used to work at Salvation Army and just kind of gather things from there, like get furniture, everything I needed, and I just decked it out. And while I was in there, it was a point where I was like, I decked it out to the max. Like I felt like I was like, it was my own little home. Mm-hmm. And I was literally saying to God one day, this is after, when I came back from Cali, I was still kind of messing around doing my thing. But then when I gave my heart to the Lord, I just cut everything off. So it was one point in there where I had cut everything off. I wasn't smoking, drinking, having sex, none of that. And I told the Lord I wouldn't do that. And the next woman I would make love to was my wife. And at that time, I was just seeking the Lord, praying, like just really realizing that right now it was just me and God. I would go to the subways and minister to people. And I felt like that was my life. It was simple. It was straightforward. I would come home, eat, wake up in the morning, go down to the subway, make some money, minister to people, come back home, eat, do the same thing over and over again. I felt like that was life for me, and I felt fulfilled. I got to read my Bible. I got to, get closer. I started getting revelation. And it was one point where I just said, Lord, all I need now is a woman. I feel like Adam. I feel like I got everything. So I started to pray about my wife. I started to pray about the things that I wanted. I started to ask God when I went to show me exactly who she was. And I told him about the things that I wanted to see from her, So as time progressed, I started hitting up the open mic scene, and I used to go out and drink and stuff like that. But this time I would just go out and just kind of observe. And I had ran into who is now my wife, Genevieve, like months before, maybe even years before. And every time I would see her, I would like give her this hug, and it'd be this hug, like this real serious hug, like, and I'd be like, I don't even know you. But every time I see her, I get real, not just the normal hug. It was,
yeah.
Kind of rest your head, and I mean,
yeah.
It's about. But then I went out one night, and I was at McGillen's, and I was there, and I'm sitting there like just observing. And then the Lord told me, like, well, get it. As a matter of fact, before you even said that, I found out it was her birthday. She was out there performing and singing, and it was like, they put it on the. Somebody said it on the PA. It was like, yeah, it's Genevieve's birthday and all that. So I was sitting there like, okay, cool. Not paying it no mind. And I'm just sitting there, and the Lord just said, go get a coffee. And I'm like, all right. At this time, I felt like David, when they said like David could like hear the voice of the Lord. I think it was David or Solomon could just hear him. And he was a man after God's own heart. So it was just like they was having a conversation. And that's how I felt in the shed at that moment in my life. It was like, I could just hear when God is talking to me. So I obeyed, and I went to Wawa, and I got a coffee. And as I was coming out, there was a guy who was asking for change, and I gave him some change. The Lord was saying, give him some change. So I gave him some change. At that very moment, I looked back, and I saw this guy selling roses on the corner. And then the Lord was saying, buy a rose. And I'm like, buy a rose? What am I buying a rose for? I went and bought the rose. As soon as I hit the corner to buy the rose, a SEPTA bus pulled over. Boom. Yo, how much them roses? I'm like, told him how much they was. He's like, grab me one. Gave me the money, grabbed the one. I'm like, what is going on? So I'm like, all right, whatever. Take the rose. As I'm walking back, I'm like, epiphany. Forgot. It was Genevieve's birthday. So I get there, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to give her the rose. Man, I went up there and sang happy birthday to her, gave the rose, and that was it.
And now we have a son, right? Oh man.
Yeah, bro.
That's awesome. So when I first met you, you guys actually sang. So you sang some for a large portion of your set, and then your wife came up and you guys sang together. And I couldn't help but just be in awe at how much of a cohesive unit you guys were, and how you kind of were just feeding off of each other's energy. What was the process like of getting to that point where you guys were really feeding off each other's energy and really kind of becoming one unit instead of separate people?
it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
It's still going on. You know, it's and the process that happened before that was just us learning that we need each other, because we were independent before. Like, she was independent as a single mom of almost 12 years. I was an independent, you know, just vagabond, just traveling the world or the United States and just doing my own thing. And being an artist and feeling like you have talent, you feel like you don't really need another entity to make you who you are, you know, like you feel like you got it, you know. So even as a couple, we were still like performing artists. And at first we had like a vision of us performing together, but our drives for writing and music are a little different. I'm more of like, this is my end all be all. I'm gonna write every day. Like, this is it. She was more like really into early childhood education and like just kids, and she would write her songs, but her writing process was different. There would be times where I feel like I was writing like a bunch of songs, and, you know, I felt like since I wrote them, they were my songs. Like, so I'm gonna sing these and I'm gonna just rock out. And it was hard to like say, all right, let's write together, because I wasn't sure if we were on the same level on certain things. Like, you know, she would tell you that she has to be inspired in a certain way to write. And for me, it was like, I just pick up the pen and write. So it was hard to kind of say like, all right, well, do I just write the whole song, or like, how are we gonna do this? And what if you're not feeling like writing? And I am feeling like writing. So it literally came together when like God wanted it to come together. There would be songs that I would write. One song in particular that I started to write, and I brought it to her attention, and it just happened to be at a time where she was like, yeah, I do want to write to this. And literally that song was a song that we got comfortable with practicing, and we were able to like expound on that song and grow that song. And then as we would do that, we'd be like, all right, well, now we need another song to go with that. Right. And as progressed, we would write, you know, more music. And even as we come into this new season of life, like I'm starting to really take my time and like include her in my writing process, where it's more or less like I'm thinking of us, not thinking about me, but thinking of us as we write songs. Or I might even ask her like, how are you feeling? How about I write a song for you? Because since this is something I feel like is definitely one of my gifts, and this is something that you may feel like, all right, you may not lack, but this is, you come from a different point of view in doing this, or you may need to be inspired at a certain point. How about I ask you how you're feeling? All right, feeling right now. I'm gonna write a song about that. Wow. Tell me if you like it, you know, and then then we can expound on that, and then come together and work together to finish it.
So what was the process like of actually saying, you know what, I'm going to really admit that how much I need you? Because I know for me personally, with my wife, sometimes it's really hard for me to fully submit to that realization. You know, I'm like, no, I got it. I can do it. I can figure it out. And she's like, okay, but I'm here for a reason. So how did you overcome that natural urge to say, you know, I got it myself?
I think that God sent, when you're supposed to learn something, he'll send it to you, like, you know, repeat the lesson over and over and over and over until you get it. Mm-hmm. And there would be where I remember one time in church, I had like a bunch of equipment, and somebody was offering to help me. And I was like, no, I got it. And it was like, man, if you don't let somebody help you, I was like, it just hit different at that time. I'm like, you're right. Like, I can let somebody help me, you know what I mean? Do something. Mm-hmm. And it was like, those moments started connecting. She would be like, yo, I'm your helpmate. And we get in arguments. I'm your helpmate. Let me help you. And I'm like, or I would just get into an argument. I'd be like, you don't even help me. And she'd be like, I'll be trying to help you. And then it starts to re-register in my brain. I'm like, damn. So she's been trying to help me. I've been saying that she don't help me, but then it'd be times where I feel like I need help, and she'd be offering it, and I'd be turning it down. Like, now I got to start like reevaluating like these moments and really being fully aware of what's happening right now. All right, so now intentionally, when she needs help, or I'm sorry, when I need help, and she offers to help, I let her help me and see where it goes.
Yeah,
and then then we'll go from there.
So trust me, I know that's a struggle. I'm in that mood now. I'm just like, listen, I got it. I can do it. But I realize more that I exert more energy. I'm more tired by trying to take on all the load, whether it is clean up around the house or if it's like caring for our son or whatever. I'm more tired, and it takes more energy for me to push her away from helping than it would be to just help and just
let her help.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But we'll get through it. Now, you said when before you guys got married that she had a son already, right?
Yeah.
So what was that like? First having to meet him and having to kind of, I guess, impress, for lack of better terms. Because I know, like my sister, she has a son, and anyone that she meets, she always say, if my son don't like you, there's no way, there's nothing that we could do anyway. So what was that like being in those shoes?
At first I felt real confident. I felt like, I got it. You know what I mean? Just a young boy. I was a young boy. Like, so whatever. Like, whatever. What's up, young boy? What's going on? Like, and slowly but surely that we spoke a different language. He was more of spoke proper for one thing, and then he was just more of an intellectual kid. Like, he wasn't just like the I go outside play basketball kid. He was more of a stay in the house and read books kid and play with Legos and create things. And I was like, growing up, I was forced to stay in the house most of the time. But when I go out, when I got a chance to go out, I was about that life. So it was a good thing it was almost like God set me up for this. It was interesting, because my way of discipline, I think that was the toughest thing, because every kid needs to be disciplined. You can't just let a kid just run your life, and like me not being his birth father, and me seeing certain things that I don't like, and that I wanted to address, I was like, all right, I'm here now, so this ain't going down. And it was like, there was moments where, his mom would let me discipline him, but then there was moments where she'd be like, listen, babe, like, that's not how to do it. And I'd be like, this is how you do it. So, and I didn't want to listen. But after a while, when it was a point where things got a little tough, and it was starting to affect our relationship, me and my wife. And I just kind of had to fall back a little bit. I asked for guidance from, my dad, and honestly, my dad was like, listen, man, my dad's Jamaican. So he was like, leave the boy alone. Like what so with that advice, it was like, all right, this is the time where I need to leave him alone. But when he was younger, I felt like I needed to give him like some real, like straightforward, blunt, like what we're going to do. And this is what we're not going to do. Because I would always see God and say, all right, am I doing this right? And then I would get confirmation from, say, his family members or his grandfather. I remember meeting his grandfather. I'm like, man, I don't know whatever you're doing over there, but keep doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this before, so there was moments where I was getting the attaboy, and there was moments where I was like getting yo, you doing too much. You know what I mean? So I'm now we're at a different level. We're still learning each other, but now I feel like we have more of a camaraderie.
Now, when did you? I guess, sense that he felt comfortable with you around him and with his mom?
It's crazy. When I was about to marry her, when I was about to propose to her, I asked if if he like what he would think, or what would he approve of me being his father. He was like, yeah. I told him ring, and he was like, yeah, definitely do it. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? It kind of hit me a little different. I'm like, wow, he was excited. And that's what like really feel comfortable.
Cool. So now you guys married. It's the three of you guys, and then
okay.
Yeah, at the time it was three of you guys, and then you get that notification. I'm pregnant. You're going to be a father of your biological father. Now, I ask everyone this, and I'm interested in your perspective. What emotions? What were your feelings when you first heard those words? You're going to be a father.
Bro, I can't. I'm not trying to bust your phone mic right now. I play all types of goes, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm like too much emotion, like it was just like and he's a boy. Oh.
Yeah. Now, did you want a boy? Was that your goal?
At first, I thought I was gonna get a girl because I was like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna get a boy, man. I feel like I've been did too much dirt. God gonna punish me, man. But yeah, nah. And then when we found out it was a boy, I was like, I didn't feel worthy, man. I felt like, dang, I get to raise like me, like I'm a good enough dude to raise another man.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. What were some like worries that you had about being a father of a young prince?
Because as a young man, as a just a guy out here in this world, I'm just like, Lord, I don't got it. I'm still figuring it out. I'm not fully there yet. Even in my insecurities, like, how am I even a man yet? You know what I mean? Like, so I want to be able to show him the right things to do, but I'm still doing the wrong thing in certain aspects of my life. Like I can't just be telling him to do this and I'm not doing it. So it just, to be honest, it was a little more comforting knowing that I would be raising him from an infant, from a newborn to an older age, because I felt like there was a bigger gap. So I would have chances to kind of correct my actions. Yeah. Like he wouldn't see me like struggling with drinking. Like, all right, I ain't drinking no more. And then see me pick up a bottle. I ain't drinking no more. See me pick up a bottle. Like now my older son, he can see that. I'll tell my wife, I ain't drinking right now. And then the next week I might pick up a bottle. Like, ain't time yet. You know what I mean? Ain't time for me to quit that. And to me, it feels like, damn, like he's not a man of his word. And that's something I didn't want my son to see. Some simple things like man of your word, like those are things that are very instrumental in becoming a man. Those are things fundamental, like, I try to hold true to those little things because those little things, add up to big things. So, small things like that, insecurities, doubts about, my abilities to be a leader, a spiritual leader. And which are things that still plague me to this day. But I'm because I know what foundation I'm built on. I always, even when I don't feel like I'm there, I know that God still loves me. He's still correcting me and fixing me. So I always feel like, all right, at the end of the day, I'm gonna fall back on my rock and get back up. I'm not just out and out, down and out, Yeah. And that's something glad I can teach my older son that, you know, we never gonna get it right all the time. You know, you can see when I mess up and see when I get back up too.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when I found out, I had a similar reaction. I was super excited, and then that night, or maybe the next morning, it just felt like boom, pressure, weight. Yo, you got to figure all this stuff out like right now. And I was like, man, I don't know if I should be doing this, like, because I don't know if I can carry all this weight or this pressure. Did you
Yeah.
feel any type of pressure like that outside of the insecurities that you said that you felt?
Um, I felt, did I feel pressure? I think I felt more pressure from my wife
Mm.
because she's done this before.
Wow. Okay.
So it was more like, I'm expecting you to be a good dad, and like there are things that she knew. It's almost like somebody who's played a game or a video game.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
know the goals, or they know how to defeat this one person, and you struggling, you sitting there like
Yeah.
trying to figure it out, and you like, how you keep on winning like that? And it's not until you really figure out how to use that character that you feel like, all right, I can relax a little bit. That's how I felt. You know, like my wife was an early childhood education major. Like there's things about raising babies that are literally like things that you have to read in a book. You know, like there are things that you kind of feel instinctually, but there are things that where you're like, all right, just tell them to shut up. Or tell them, just leave them alone for a little bit. And no, but there's a method to the madness of how you correct certain behaviors and how you react to certain things. And to this day, I'm still learning, man.
So how has your relationship with your father influenced you as a father?
See, my dad, I was thinking about this today, how my dad was in my life or around me, but not in my life as much as I wanted him to be. So, you know, I would go see him every other weekend, and it would just be like, we do the same thing. But it was interesting how some of the little things I kind of noticed as I grew older, why he was doing them. Like, for instance, we would go somewhere and like we would never talk in the car, right? Never. I used to feel like that was kind of like, talk to me, like say something. You know what I mean? Wake up in the morning, all right, time to go. We drive, and then you just be dead quiet. And I'll just be like, and drop me off. All right, see you later. Man, I ain't had no conversation. You know what I mean? And even I remember just even as a younger boy, I'm like, is he ever going to talk to me? You know? As I got older, it's like as I started, especially with my older son, it's so important to like be genuine. So I felt like what my dad was doing was like being completely genuine. Like he didn't have nothing to really say to me. Like he was just like, I'm going to work. Like KYW. About that no conversation with this young boy. Like, he probably was things that he could have said, but he just felt, I think he was in his own zone. He had nothing to say. So, and I get him. I get that a little bit more. As I'm older, sometimes I ain't really much to say. I ain't about to force it.
That's funny. Now, is he like super involved in your kids' lives?
Not super involved. He's around, he's around. I don't take him over. I don't take my kids over there to like spend the night or nothing like that, but I'll take my youngest son over there to like chill with him for a little bit. You'll see him at church on Saturdays when he's with my mom. He does spend the night over at my mom's house with my stepdad. So yeah, on Saturdays when they're like the food bank, he'll be out. My little son will be out there running around, wreaking havoc, and he'll be sitting there laughing at him, joking with him, and stuff like that.
So do you notice any differences between how your parents treated you versus how they treat their grandkids?
Nah, not yet. You know, I have like they gotta get a little older. Let's you know,
Dude,
they were you know.
my parents, my son can get away with anything in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yo, you weren't playing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only one, but it still's like, yo, really?
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So you have a junior now. When you knew that it was going to be a boy, did you know that you wanted him to be a junior, or was that something that came later?
That was something that my wife suggested. Like, I wanted to make him like a Hakeem or something. Like, no, it wasn't Hakeem. I was trying, I was trying to figure out some name. I don't know. I didn't know what name I was going to name him. I was thinking about some. It was definitely going to be something interesting, but like, I didn't want to name him my name because I wanted him to be his own man, like his, have his own name, And my wife was like, "No, he should be the second." I'm like, "Wow, that's an honor," Like,
now did that put any pressure on you? Like, all right, well, this is my namesake. I got to make sure that he's, the namesake of something great.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I would say, yeah. I always felt like I was hard on myself anyway. So,
yeah.
I feel like a lot of the pressure was already there to just be the best person I could be, to honor my gifts and talents, like, and make sure that I didn't waste them, and all that type of stuff. Like, I felt like I was gifted, so that was the most pressure that I ever received, was just feeling like I had to do something with him. And then when it came, it was like, all right, now I definitely got to do something with him, because I ain't gonna see his dad out here being able to do this and do that and create this and that, and then nothing come out of it.
Right. Now, as you are raising Junior, or the junior, were there times where did you ever experience like you raising him, or maybe you're talking to him a certain type of way, or maybe you're trying to discipline in a certain type of way, or just kind of show him a certain kind of thing, and you come say to yourself, "Yo, chill, just kind of relax and calm down." Like, what's that process like in terms of how you think he needs to be raised versus how you probably learn to he actually needs to be raised?
Yeah. Thank God for my wife. She knows that when I'm just doing like something that may not be the best thing, There was times where like I lost my cool, like, "Yo," and then she'd be like, "Yo," like, "Cool out." I'm like, "My bad," like. And then there'd be times where I'd be like, it'd be something simple. I'm trying to think of something, but like, all right, for instance, I can, pop him, boom, and he'll listen, or he might get mad, or she'd be like, "Babe, just make him sit on the step for like 2 minutes." You don't always gotta be the popping thing. And then that was something that I had to learn. Like, I'm so used to getting popped. You know what I mean? That's all it was. Ain't no sit on no step.
Right. Right.
So it's just new ways of doing things, like little things that you would say, like how about distractions? Like, right. So that's a major part of raising a kid and trying to get them to learn the right thing to do is distracting them from what they shouldn't be doing. Right. So they sitting there writing on a wall, "Babe, hey, come here." Or not, "Hey, come here," but like, "Hey, O2, you want to go out? You want to go play with these toys?" Right. Instead of even bringing attention to the wall, you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
And then until they get to a point where they can understand, like, don't do that. Let's do this.
Yeah. Like, that's a gem. I was literally earlier today. Junior, he says no, but I started feeling like he's saying no because he's hearing me say no a lot, and everything's no. And I was reading this article about how pretty much kids they learn limitations. Like they don't think about limitations. They don't think about what's fearful or anything. People put that on them. So I was thinking, is me saying no a way of showing him limitations? Like, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And I'm trying to figure out different ways to divert behavior without being negative, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, that's a gem right there. Is that something that your wife showed you too?
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds something like that, because I would have never. See, I grew up in the era where we got popped, we got threatened, or we got that look. One of those things was going to happen if you did something. If you were 2 or 20, that was just about it. That's definitely funny. Now, it looking back at raising your stepson, and then now that you have your son, are there some things that kind of came more, were more understandable when you had a son that your wife was maybe trying to share with you with your stepson? Maybe how you talk to him, how you develop that relationship, or is there some certain things that you learned where it kind of clicked more when your son came versus than when you had the stepson?
Honestly, I can't think of anything because they're so different. Like they are two different children. Like one is like I said, one is real, book smart and just more into like the technical side of things, and one is just real rough and bang his head on the wall and laugh like just this is fun for me. So I definitely raise them differently and talk to them differently, and I think patience just is just a virtue. With both of them, you can't just expect them to get everything on the first, within the first instruction. Like, I guess that's definitely something. My stepson, there'll be things that we tell him more than once, and he won't listen the first time. We'll tell him won't listen, and tell him again third time, won't tell him again the fourth time, and then he'll be like, and then he'll show you that he listened. He'll do it, and without you asking, and then you'll be like, "Oh my God, thank you, Jesus!" But you would never learn. And then same thing with my baby. Like he'll pick up things after a while, and then you just be like, "All right, cool." So it didn't really. I think patience, and what the Bible says, like, not to vent your anger, like, is very important, because you don't want that to be what they remember when it didn't have to be something that they needed to remember. It could be you just taking your time and showing them over and over and over and over again, which is duty as a father, like to be patient, and to teach.
So you're a musician and you are a firefighter. Two, I imagine. Well, I don't know about being a firefighter, but I know being a musician, very hectic schedule. A lot of time that you have to put into your craft, your writing, performing, things like that. How do you balance your responsibilities at work, your musicianship, and then being a husband and being a father, and then also being you? How do you balance those different arenas?
To-do list. To-do list. When I was back in California, one of my cars broke down. My car broke down, and I had to fix my starter on the side of the road. And this bishop ended up like helping me all night fix the starter. And he said this thing that to me that I'll never forget. He was like, every day you need to have 5 things that you need to write down that you need to do. If you do that, you stand on track. He was like, but if you don't, then you slip. He was like, what happens when you slip? You fall. So it just put more of a priority to me on like planning, at least for each day, like, for that day. I'm not, I have long-term vision, but I don't have like short-term planning. I don't incorporate that as often as I should. Short-term planning, like monthly planning. All right, so on the 25th of January, I think I'm going to do this. Like my wife is like the queen of that, but I am like, all right, today, wake up. What am I doing today? And unless, I get, notified, like how you notified me about this. All right, so I could put that on the schedule. or if somebody reaches out to me. But personally, what do I have to do today? For firefighting, for music, for fatherhood, for husbandry, like all of these things are things that I literally put on the to-do list. So my wife says, all right, I need you to caulk up this hole randomly. I put that on my to-do list, right, real quick. And I know, because I know I'm gonna forget. And Aiden has this going on. We got to get him this on the to-do list. So work and music, I'll have those on my routine list, where it's like every day I'm going to listen or like read something about firefighting. Every day, and then music. All right, today I'm definitely going to practice my skills. I'm definitely going to play. I'm definitely going to write a song, something that has to do with music. I'm going to research like publishing. I'm going to something that has to do with the music industry. I'm going to do something that incorporates that. And because I work at a firehouse, when I'm at work, after I'm done with the daily routines house, I have unlimited time unless something popping off. So I feel like, to be honest, I was just blessed with that job to still be able to do both and like be able to plan out like my bills and like maybe if I do want to go take my family on a trip, like I can sit there and figure that out. So honestly, to-do lists have been like the gem that keeps me above water, above ground, for real.
That's what's up. Now, have you ever felt like you were given how can I word it? Like you weren't given enough time to your family because you were doing music too much or doing work too much? Have you ever felt like that? And if so,
Yeah.
how did you kind of overcome that feeling?
So one of the hardest things I had to learn was how to prioritize my music, my family over music.
Mm-hmm.
Hardest thing, because before I had a family, that's all I did, music day in, day out. So even when I became a father and a husband, I was like still putting music first. And it would be like, babe, like we need to do this, we need to do that. Like, I'm like, oh, but I gotta do this. And it was like slowly but surely I had to realize that, dog, music don't come first.
Mm-hmm.
Music is get to do, like when you get the time to do it. So it just happened over time, realizing that and realizing that it would never change. I'm not going back in the time where I used to just sit on the beach and play all day. Nah, not unless I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
You got your wife that needs to be tended to. So it was just a realization. That's why my first project, right here, what the project I have on now is called Recreation or Recreation. Like, because I felt even those songs were songs that I just made, like when I had the spare time, I could sneak a song in real quick, But thank God, he blessed me with a wife that does believe in my giftings and the vision I believe God has for my life. So, and she sings. So
right.
It always, and our older son plays trumpet. So we're turning into like this musical family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My younger son sings, my baby, so it's like, it's always going to be around. It's just put family first and then everything else can follow.
Right. Now, how has your family influenced your music?
100%. Like I would say my new music is completely inspired by my family. Me just being a different person now, it's just like, all right, there's different things that I talk about. Honestly, when I became a Christian, a believer, I truly gave my heart to God. I wanted to just write nothing but gospel, and started to box myself in. But then I realized that I wasn't, that there was more things that needed to be talked about,
Yeah.
Fatherhood and the thing like being a husband. So I'll talk about those things and just be open. But I also talk about Christ and like my relationship with him and worship and stuff like that. they just keep me a little bit more grounded and more aware and cognizant about what I'm actually going to put out into the world. You know what I mean? I represent them too.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, I have one last question. If you were talking to a new father or an expecting father, what advice would you give that young man with knowing what you know and what you have experienced in your life so far? What advice would you give them?
All right. I'm not going to say put God first. I would say surrender your entire life to God's plan. Forget your plan. Forget it. Trash it. Throw it away. The moment you decide that, or you're responsible for somebody else, you need to really understand that, you know, what God has for you. So that way you can be the best you can be for everybody else that you're going to be attached to. You know, that's something I constantly do over and over. And I'm realizing if I can just stay on the right track instead of going, you know, getting off and hopping back on, it would just be I would just get way further. You know what I mean? Literally you hopping off or taking detours every now and then when you can just stay on track.
Right.
It'd be a little different.
So how do you actually do that? You're saying put God first and really submit to that. How do you actually do that?
That means literally spend most of your time, like the Bible says. This is one of the things that you'd be like, do they really even mean this, or does this happen? All right, we're in 2021, where we got a ton of distractions. But when these words were written, you know, they didn't have as many or the same type of distractions, but we still have a different type of access to the scriptures, to godly material, to worship music. Stay in your word, meaning like open your phone. Like, I mean, like this is as practical as I'm gonna make it. Delete every time. This is what I do to this day right now. I post something and I delete Instagram.
Yeah.
Like that's how serious it is for me right now, because I cannot be distracted for too long. Like, literally, I gotta stay in the word, because the word is like my blueprint. So I'm like reading it and I'm like, all right, this is what I should spend most of my time doing. Reading this, seeking God, like, Lord, and praying, like in my head, like, God, like, what are you trying to say to me right now? And when I do close it, boom, I'm with my family, things are going on, and in my head, I'm like, all right, God, what you want me to do next? Can we go walk the dog? All right, I'm gonna go walk the dog. If you don't feel like you hear God, just take a second and like think about, like, all right, what would God want me to do? The Bible verse that got me to where I'm at now, Matthew 6, verse 333. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Well, literally, seek ye first is like my recurring thought, like seek ye first. All right. So I get confused and I'm like, all right, what should I do? All right, seek you first. All right, I'm open my phone. I'm open the Bible app. If I see something that I can register with, or if something's speaking to me, then I keep reading, or I'll just sit there and I'll just get into this zone of like posture where I'm like, God, I need you right now. I need you to direct my steps. Like, I can't do this without you. And literally, it won't take long. He'll give me a thought that this is what you do. But it's like more or less me having to depend on him, and me like having the faith to say, Lord, I trust you. I'm waiting for you to tell me. So you got to give me something.
Right.
And now I'm like, all right. So this sounds about right. This is God. I hope this is it. Because this is what I'm about to go do. I feel like this is it. We'll do it. And if it, with that posture, he honors it. It's not like he's going to be like, he sitting there waiting for me and I'm never going to answer. Nah, he's going to give you something to let you know that he hears you and that, you're doing the right thing. So, and then it's just about that trust. Like, all right, I'm just going to trust. You said you never make mistakes, right? So I'm just going to trust. This is why I'm here. Everything is lining up. I'm just going to trust you. Even though I may not understand it, Still gonna trust you. And this is where my heart is. Nothing comes before you, right? Nothing comes before you. I'm not thinking about anything more than I'm thinking about you. And that's been a struggle for me. So don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? I just was telling my OG today, like, it was the bottle for me, like picking that joint up, like, man, I'm just gonna drink for a little bit. And then it just got to a point where I keep on thinking about it. And then I'm like, dang, but God, you want me to think about you? Like, I know you do. And I know I'm sitting here thinking about this bottle, thinking about how I'm about to just chill and relax. But if I trust you and if I believe that you say that I believe that you are, then everything that I'm getting from this, you can fulfill in a different way. And lately, his revelation to me was, all right, so the feeling that you got from, I'm a replace that with knowledge. So instead of you to go drink, how about I give you something to go research? I give you something to learn. I'm like, ain't that like, that's just like the biggest gift you can get from saying like, all right, I'm gonna try to do the right thing. You know? Yes. Now I'm gonna give you the work, like almost like I'm gonna open your eyes to see everything that you wasn't looking at before.
That's beautiful. Listen, I appreciate your time. You have helped me out in so many ways, man. I appreciate you. I thank you for taking the time out to speak with me and to speak with the listening audience. I hope that you guys gathered and got a lot of information from this great brother, man. You're going to hear more about him. He has some great music, and he's just a really, really awesome person. I appreciate you, good brother. Thank you all for watching and listening to another episode of The Man, the Father, the Legend. I am your host, David Ford. We are signing off. Remember to spread love, spread hope. Peace, man.
Peace, brother.